to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, the national anthem, every day at noon, presented by Edward Jones and our friend Eric Ponder, 864-862-2161. He went to South Carolina, went overseas, went to the southwest border, and now he's working on behalf of all of our financial futures. 864-862-2161. Eric Ponder and Edward Jones. I can give you a personal, personally endorse him. I can tell you that because he's doing a lot for our family. This guy's done a lot for all of our families when he especially was in a uniform at the University of South Carolina, made all of us very happy at times and really happy now because Tailgate Talks episode 3 is out this morning. Stephen Garcia and Pat DeMarco welcomed Shane Beamer, and it was you keep calling yourself out, man. We gotta slow you down from getting yourself in trouble every week.
I couldn't care less, man. It doesn't affect me one bit.
No, it doesn't. It was so funny. I was just started laughing when you told the story about the Sprite can. Did Coach Spurrier really say we just put it in a Sprite can, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how can I make that up? Is like,
Right.
Like especially it's like, that's literally what 20 or 12 years ago. I have no reason. I mean, it's all the statute of limitations have passed.
Oh yeah, I think so. Unless the Hymans are in town, then you're in deep trouble, my man.
I think they're in deep trouble if they're in town this weekend.
Yeah, right.
No, not a threat. Not a threat. It's not a threat.
Yeah.
No.
But he's definitely persona non grata down here these days, right?
For sure.
Eric will send you to jail if he hears this conversation. He'll find a way to, Oh man! Well, for those that haven't had a chance to watch or listen to it, yeah, you can pull up both versions. You can pull it up through Gamecocks Plus on the Chief Sports app, and you can pull it up in podcast form on the Chief Sports app as well. It's very easy. One click of the button, and there you go. And it is out. If you missed the first two, Boogie Huntley, Luke Doty, week 1 with Pat and Steven in the Steve, or excuse me, Miss Jerry, in the Jerry and Steve Spurrier indoor facility. And speaking of Coach Spurrier, last week he was their second guest, and so it's been a lot of fun. And the next couple of, do you want to mention who one of the guests will be going into the LSU game, or do you want to hold on to that?
Yeah, we'll hold on.
Okay. Okay. All right. It's really unique, so I'm really excited for that one. I'm more excited about that than Spurrier or Beamer.
Me too. I can't wait to have that.
There's nothing like that. That's not even a tease. That's just ridiculous that I just did that publicly, but it's all good. All right, man. Here we go. Week 1, dude. Week 1. We finally get to play football. Gamecocks are going to run out there and knock heads with somebody not named South Carolina. It is Old Dominion, who will be entering Williams-Brice Stadium on Saturday afternoon, and head coach Ricky Rain, who actually was at Vanderbilt 2011 through 2013, I believe.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that's the Jordan Rogers years, right?
I think so. Did you play against Jordan?
No, he was just after me. So that's definitely the Jordan Rogers years.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah. So
I didn't realize he was coaching there, and now he's coaching at Old Dominion, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. It's he's at ODU. Offense is similar style to Tennessee, obviously, and we'll let you expand on this. If they can't get it going, it can be in big trouble. But right. They want to try to move it down the field as quickly as they can. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to move this to the forefront because Mike mentioned it a little bit ago, and I'd already had it kind of on my my list of let's talk to Stephen Garcia about this. So you hear a lot of this is all over the country, but when you get to week 1 or you're getting into the week 1 ball game, and what do we show versus what do we not show? Well, if you're playing, you got Georgia and Clemson this weekend, you show whatever it takes to win the daggum football game. But when you're playing Old Dominion, or a couple of years ago, Shane's first game, you're playing Eastern Illinois or something like that. Like, how do you prepare for a game? Do you hold things back so the next opponent doesn't see it? Like, give us some insight into that.
I would not. I would hope he doesn't either. I would hope he uses this to send a pretty loud and clear message that, they got a chip on their shoulder. They are very underrated, and they're going to show them kind of what their offense can do. I mean, everybody talks about their defense and how good the defense is supposed to be this year. Obviously there's question marks with the new quarterback, and see what he can do. But I mean, if I'm Coach Beamer, I'm letting it fly and trying to send a message. But I do kind of see the other point of let's not give them everything, because we do have Kentucky, LSU, Ole Miss coming up. But at the same time, it's college football, man. Like, these guys watch. This is their job. They watch film. They break your film down. They know what you're going to do. They know what you want to do. So I'm just a firm believer in just do your thing, man. Like, what the hell's the point of holding back?
When you went into a specifically season opener, once you get through the first game, second, everybody knows kind of who you are anyways, right? I mean, you'll put some things in here and there, but they know about what you're doing. Did Coach Spurrier ever have these conversations in the quarterback room as y'all were preparing for the first game of the year? If it was somebody that you're expected to beat, like, well, we're not going to show them this. Did you ever have those conversations?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, maybe he did think that. If he did, he never told me. He never emphasized that that's something that, that's not the vibe I was getting. Same thing with Coach Mangus. I mean, that was not the vibe that I got. They said, this is our game plan. This is what we're going to do. This is what they are not good at playing defense against. So this is what we're going to attack. And, this is what they are good against. So we're not going to do that. That's just how it was back then.
Yeah.
Stephen, I was going to ask you, and Jamie mentioned their offense, and just based on what I'm reading, again, it looks like they do a lot of what Tennessee does, where they take the wide, split them out awfully wide outside the numbers. And it got me thinking, Tennessee, and I know Carolina doesn't face Tennessee, but I'm just curious, as somebody who played in various offenses in your career, why has Tennessee's offense been so effective? Like, I get it, they've had talent. Hooker was terrific a couple of years ago. They've had first-round receivers, but they don't run a ton of different plays. It's like they set that up, and they've got their 5 or 6 things that they do really, really well. And I thought by now SEC defenses would have a little better handle on it. Maybe they do this year, maybe they don't. But when you watch it, what do you pick up on?
I mean, it's kind of what Coach Spurrier kind of invented. He did the fun and gun, or the run and gun, whatever it was called. And, I just remember being in the same formations and have 10 different ways to get into the same kind of play, if that makes sense. So we'd have like a drag concept, that we'd have a drag coming from slot, or we'd have a drag coming from the other slot, or from a drag, motion them in, run it from the outside. I mean, there's just so many different ways to get into the same, basically play from the same formation or from different formations. And, it's what does it say? Keep it simple, stupid. Was that? I think that's a reference to the offense, right? Or isn't that what
KISS principle? Yeah.
So
I mean,
when you try to outsmart yourself, that's, as the Coach Spurrier said, that's when you look like a dumbass. So, yeah,
that's a good point. kind of like the guy that was calling plays 2 years ago, and he had a defensive end, tossing the football into the end zone in Knoxville. Tried to outsmart yourself.
Very, very confusing. Exactly.
Just ran the football down their throat, 75 yards. Let's bring in the defensive end and let's pull out the trick play here.
Yeah, that was. It's baffling. Sometimes it's. They try to outsmart themselves. It's kind of confusing, but who knows what the hell is going on through these guys' heads.
All right,
just one more quick one. What's your biggest question about the offense coming into this game that you want to see answered early on in the season? I mean, obviously we know you got a new starting quarterback, you got a lot of new wide receivers, but anything specifically that you're like, okay, I want to see this on Saturday and feel good about it going forward?
I would like to see the line hold up in pass protection and be able to see them run the ball effectively. I think if you can do that, I think you give, Sellers a hell of a more comfortable opportunity and a better opportunity to succeed. So I think those two things are going to be huge. I mean, that's with any quarterback in general, but especially when you got a younger guy with not a whole lot of experience. I think if you have a line that can hold up, especially in blitz packages, because I'm sure they're going to try to blitz the hell out of them, try to confuse them with some, dropping D ends and all that other stuff. But if you can pick those blitzes up and if you can run the ball effectively, I think that's going to be a lot of pressure, relieved off Sellers.
Do you
Yeah,
think
so
there's an advantage, Stephen, in running, trying to run not necessarily real high pace, a tempo game with the, young signal caller, but maybe kind of pushing those limits, for him. That way, if he does become reliant with the helmet communications, defenses won't key in on just making it look completely different than what they actually plan on running and disguising the coverage schemes and things like that. Maybe kind of push the tempo a little bit with him.
I would, if I'm them, I'm 100% pushing the tempo just to get him as many game reps with bullets flying as possible. And I completely forgot about the helmet communication thing. That's an interesting deal. I would absolutely hate that if I was playing with Coach Spurrier.
I was going to ask you if you'd like that
Oh
or
my
not. No, but with
God.
him, yeah.
damn it,
You're playing
Steve,
You're playing at Florida, Tennessee, Georgia. There's 110,000 people in the stands. The only person I could ever hear was Coach Spurrier. You got all these people booing you and screaming at you, and the only person here is Coach Spurrier. I would change my helmets with like Cliff or somebody.
That's right. You're in everything but the F word in the huddle. So yeah.
Shane actually said last week he thinks that there will be more signaling from the sideline with helmet communication, not less, because in college football, how you try to speed things up and defenses trying to change when you're trying to change, et cetera, et cetera. He thinks there will actually be more. Maybe he's on to something. I don't know.
I don't know. It worked pretty well for Florida State and DJ last week. That was fun to watch.
He's just not an elite football player. He's not a killer, Stephen. He's just not a killer, man.
I was talking on a podcast yesterday, and they were asking about me, and I have a couple of people that play for Tech, and I kind of asked them what their thought process was, and so I took Tech plus the points, and then took the under, and then live bet Tech to win outright, and it was a good Saturday for me. A good start to college football.
Yeah.
But and I was sitting there, and I'm talking with a bunch of Florida State fans the other day, and I'm just like, man, I've seen this kid at Clemson. He's a big kid. I'm sure he's a nice, terrific dude, but he's not a good thrower of the football. I've seen him at Clemson. I saw him at Oregon State. I feel bad for him because like I said, I'm sure he's a great dude, but good God, they're going to have a long season ahead of them.
What is it about him? Because I've heard that before too. Like physically coming off the bus, I mean, he looks like everybody's All-American, but he doesn't throw a great ball. What do you see specifically about that?
In the close-up images that I've seen, he looks like he has freaking tiny little shrimp hands. It's honestly crazy. He's got like three his thumb, index finger, and ring finger, and his middle finger. They're like behind the laces of the ball. So he's trying to throw it, and it's hard for me to wrap my head around it. That you can be, and I'm sure they're paying him $1 million at least at Florida State.
Oh yeah.
I don't get it. I have not seen him throw a spiral yet. I mean, let's be honest. Peyton Manning made a lot of money and played a lot of football, not throwing a spiral, but he was accurate. But yeah, it was. It's hard to watch a quarterback at a collegiate level throw a freaking wounded duck. I mean, it's hard to watch.
Well, Lenore Sellers does throw spirals, as you've pointed out multiple times. He can, quote, spin the laces off of it, and he's going to do that this weekend against Old Dominion. Something that was written about this morning by Tony Morrell in the Big Spur is the fact that this isn't going to be, Sean Elliott's scheme from when he was back with Coach Spurrier, when you were there, and then when Connor was there. And I think maybe that gave people some pause. I think a lot of folks thought that Coach Elliott, who very, very, very well, was coming in to kind of fix this run game or whatever, but it's been collective. So he has absolutely helped the run game. Let's be clear about that. Like, he came here for a reason. There are things that he has helped them do. It's going to be better alongside having, better football players, Stephen. But what was it about Coach Elliott and his scheme that made running the football so dangerous?
To be honest, I don't know if it was much of a scheme as it was just his intensity as a coach, his demeanor. He had these guys fired up and wanted to play for him. They would run through a brick wall for him. We had some talented guys as well, and we had a pretty solid running back at the time also. So that definitely helps. But I mean, it's as far as schemes, it's I don't think it's much of a scheme. I just think it's just all out just passion, and that may be just from my experience with Coach Elliott. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not a scheme guy. I'm more of a Joe's guy, or however they say it.
Jimmy's and Joe's. Yeah.
Jimmy's Joe's, yeah.
All right. So, all right, let's talk about Dowell and that offense. Going back to what we saw last year, it's going to be a little bit different this year. You got a different skill set from, even though Spencer Rattler was just a dude. I mean, what a dude! Guy's a dude. He's going to end up starting this year, by the way, in New Orleans. At some point in time, he's going to be the starting quarterback. But he's not here at South Carolina anymore. We know that Lenoris does have a little bit more of a dual threat about him. So kind of give us a rundown of what you think about Dowell Loggins' offense, why it has a chance to be successful with Lenoris Seller's skill set at the helm.
I don't know. I think that's still a giant question mark.
Yeah.
Like you said, I mean, they're going to have to change the scheme. They're not the same player. And I was watching Perry's conversation with you earlier, and I think Perry hit the nail on the head. Everybody wants to see what this guy's going to be able to do. He's a big kid. Obviously, he's going to be able to take a couple hits to the chin, but you got to be able to get back up, and you got to be able to make the throws while you're getting hit in the chin. It ain't easy. It is not easy at all. But I think that's what everybody's kind of waiting to find out what he can do. Especially, I don't want to say against a lower tier team, but it's not an SEC team, so I don't know. I think this is a huge weekend for everybody involved.
How does that grow though? When do you feel as a quarterback like you and the offensive coordinator, of course your OC was Coach Spurrier, your head coach. It's a little bit different. I get it.
Right.
But when do you feel like, hey, they're kind of taking the reins? Like, when does that trust factor hit the level of you don't feel like you're being controlled as much anymore? You get to kind of do your own thing out there.
You might be asking the wrong guy.
I'm gonna get Connor on line too.
Yeah. You definitely want to ask Connor that one. I had all sorts of reigns going on. With the exception of the Alabama game. And people ask me that all the time. Like, what was the difference? It's like Coach Spurrier literally the whole week of practice was like, Steven, just do your game, play your game, and do your thing. And it's like, man, why couldn't you do that every damn week, man? But it's always a sensitive subject for me. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know. I think you just, especially this early in the game, just kind of let them make mistakes. I mean, it's better to make mistakes early on the year against, like I said, not an SEC team. Kind of get those growing pains out of the way.
Yeah, I'll be interested to kind of see what that looks like, right? And what there's a lot of folks who firsthand understand what Lenoris Sellers is capable of doing, but he's still a true freshman, Stephen. And he's a redshirt freshman.
Right.
And when you're a redshirt freshman and you go out there and there's still a learning curve, he's still going to make mistakes. You made mistakes as a young player. You have to go through. How hard is it to grow through those mistakes sometimes? It's
not that hard. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I made plenty of mistakes as I was older too. It's just getting comfortable with it. That my style of play was, I'm going to try to fit it in a tight window, come hell or high water. And, it got me in trouble plenty of times, but it also was extremely fun because when it worked, it was a thing of beauty. That was just my, style of play, being a big Brett Favre guy. So there's that. But I mean, I think you just, like I said, you just go out there and just let it ride, man. When you start getting cautious and nervous and, taking the check down when you have a potential, touchdown downfield, you start questioning your confidence. And that's when your confidence is done, you're shit out of luck.
What's the biggest difference, Stephen? Like, okay, Old Dominion, we don't know what to expect on defense, but we know one thing: it's not going to look anything like it's going to look like in week 2 and week 3 with Kentucky and LSU.
Right.
The biggest difference between, these, again, a Sun Belt level defense versus when you start playing the heavyweights in the SEC, everything is obviously faster, bigger, stronger. But as a quarterback, Do you just have to process much quicker? Like, what is the biggest difference for you?
As opposed to playing a Southern Miss compared to a SEC school, you're saying?
Yeah, like an Old Dominion versus what they're going to see in week 2 versus Kentucky.
I mean, don't get me wrong. These guys that are in the Sun Belt Conference and these other conferences, they definitely have ability to be SEC roster guys. You know, maybe their high school grades weren't good enough. Maybe something happened. They were injured. But there's guys, and I realized this, you know, obviously playing against the Sun Belt level guys and, you know, other divisions like that. But I also saw it, you know, being up in Canada for those 2 years. I was like, how the hell is this guy, this receiver, how is he down or up here in Canada? He should be in the league 100%. And like a highest paid receiver type deal. But, you know, there's extenuating circumstances, I'm sure, for everybody. So to answer your question, long-winded response is you just got to go out there and run your game, man. Do your thing, go through your progressions, make the reads. And like I said earlier, you got to be confident in your read, be confident in your ability, and, you know, let it ride.
Did you come out the same time as Aaron Murray out of Tampa?
No, he's, I think, 2 or 3 years younger.
Okay.
I think he wasn't his last year 14 or something like that, Mike, at Georgia? I thought it was 13 or 14.
Yeah, I've worked with him a few times, and we were talking about great athletes come out of Tampa, and your name certainly came up. We were just talking about the number of guys that have played at a high level.
Yeah.
At that position. But I mean, he's obviously one of the best. He's the all-time passing leader in the SEC. And you had your run, and but you guys went to different high schools, right?
Yeah, we went to rival high schools.
Rivals, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I didn't not to get too off track here. Was OJ Murdoch from Tampa, Stephen?
Yep.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
Did you play against him in high school?
No, he was a little older. I played AAU basketball with his younger brother. Yeah, Sherrod. I think he ended up playing at FAU or FIU, playing safety.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Man, it's another sad story. OJ, you know.
Brutal. Yeah, Middleton High School.
He could flat out fly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he moved. That's crazy. All right. So we talked about the offense, flipping it over here for the next couple of minutes here, and then we'll get you out, bud. But the defensive side of the football, you know, we did get a depth chart this week. Newsflash, that's just not how it's all going to lay out. I mean, there's going to be all these guys are going to play. Coach Beamer talked about playing 6 defensive tackles yesterday, probably 5 or 6 defensive ends. Stephen, you had a chance. We talked about some of this last week and the week before. You had a chance to see those guys fly around. We all know that the defense is older. They're experienced. They are moving quick. They've got a lot of speed. But outside of, you know, what we've heard and what you've seen with your own 2 eyes, you go back to the scheme that has been run around here for the last few years with Clayton White. It's an opportunistic style defense, right? Like they really try to get after you and create turnovers. I think they've led the league in that combined the last 3 years in the SEC, which is an outstanding number. But outside of stopping the run and third down defense, what is key for you? Defenses that you played in the past that really gave you issues. What is something that maybe could transition to when we talk about this team?
It's hard for me to answer anything defensive wise. I had so much other stuff going on. I just never really paid attention. And, you know, Coach Spurrier, I mean, we barely even looked at any defense. We were just watching, you know, he would claim that we're going to watch the defense, but we're just watching us, and he's yelling at me to take my steps and throw the ball. So I hate to not be able to answer your question. I don't want to give a half-assed answer.
No.
I just don't know.
Well, I think that there are numbers that are old. Like Mike was talking earlier about like 21 seasons in basketball. There used to be kind of the benchmark and how they, you know, figure out whether they had a good year or bad year based on 20 wins. College baseball, it used to be 40 wins, right? Defense, it used to be like, well, if you hold them under, you know, 20 points per game and 300 yards, you've got a good defense. I don't think those things are true anymore, dude. Like people move the football now. It's a totally different game.
It's completely different. You know, everybody says defense wins championships. That's just not the case anymore. And I don't think it's been like that for a good amount of time. So yeah, I mean, with the amount of the high speed stuff, the up tempo, it's an offensive game, and you know, you got guys like DJ Swearinger would never have lasted in this day and age of college football. He'd be kicked out of every single freaking game for targeting, or I just feel bad, man. These defensive guys are handicapped. And I remember hearing an interview with Tom Brady, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, the level of football from when I first started to where where I ended it, these defensive guys they're handicapped. You can't touch anybody. You got to politely ask them to to fall down. So it's a lot different. It's a lot different style, and it 100% benefits the offense.
With as fast as offenses try to move, and not all of them try to move at the pace of like Coach Heupel in the Tennessee offense, but they do try to move diligently, I guess. Maybe some of that slows down. I'll be anxious to see if the helmet comms slow it down, because like last weekend you saw more teams huddle. So
Right.
like I wonder if that's kind of changed some things. I don't know. But I do think that depth, if you don't have depth on defense, boy, are you in trouble. I mean, you might have a bunch of guys that roll out there with the first team and they're really, really good, and that's great. But if you don't have guys that can come in and spell guys, I don't know how you get through 12 games anymore.
Yeah.
And this seems to be the deepest group that Shane's had in 4 years, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I remember going to that first practice and I was like, man, these guys are freaking huge.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like there's a lot more players on the roster. That and the facilities, everything just looked completely brand new. Like the aliens just dropped them off. So it's a good problem to have. At least I hope.
I hope too. I hope you're right about that. So you're going to be in Columbia this weekend, obviously for the game.
Yep.
And then there's some other stuff going on. Will you be? I know I'll see you hopefully on Saturday. Plan on it at least. We're going to go over and tear up Big Fun's liquor cabinet.
Okay. Beautiful.
That's what you do.
Are the Flints going to be there?
Oh yeah. They'll all be there. Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll be fun. That'll be fun seeing them.
If not, have no fear, man. I have a key, so we can get in. It's all good. But what will you be bouncing around? Will you sign autographs for people? Or
yeah, I mean, whatever. It's if people still want my autograph, I've never understood that. If people still want you to sign stuff and take pictures, I don't understand why guys are like, no, I'm too good for that. It's baffling. So yeah, if someone wants to take a picture or shotgun a beer or whatever, I'm down.
Or take a picture while shotgunning a beer.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that happens. Actually,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Steven's Venmo, in case anybody was wondering, for a shotgun beer picture is Steven. I'm just kidding. He doesn't charge.
Be a different side of Cameo that we could open up there. There's some business opportunities here.
Yeah,
you want to hear
my Venmo QR code on my shirt or something?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. You want to here you go. Look at that. I would pay good money to shotgun a beer with Garcia.
That's right. We know.
Well, how much money we talking, Sonder?
Is that Shelly?
No, not Shelly. So, where is Shelly? We need to find Shelly.
I shouldn't say that, actually. I'm sure this new policies are going to want to tax the shit out of me on any Venmo transactions.
You got that right.
Yeah, we're Shelly when we need her.
I'm going to be up there Thursday. I think we land at like 2:00, and then I'm there till Sunday night.
Wonderful. Well, really look forward to seeing you, man. Always appreciate the time. I'll give you the last word to pump up Tailgate Talks in the newest episode. Go for it.
Yeah, man. We got a chance to sit down with Coach Beamer, and it's kind of cool just getting a chance to talk with him, kind of not really off camera, but just kind of hear the personal side of things, and just reminisce about the times when he was coaching us, and the stories of back then, and just hearing the perspective that he has for being a head coach. I didn't realize that he was all over the place with, some Hall of Fame level coaches, at Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Georgia, obviously his dad, Virginia Tech. So I think it's really cool, like his entire story, and I'm pulling for him big time. And for him to even respond to my texts or my calls, like he's like, whenever you come to South Carolina, whenever you come to Columbia, please text me. We'll link up. It's always great to see you, and we love the alumni, and especially you for all that you do and have done for the university. So he doesn't have to do that, and for him to do that, I think is pretty badass. And it was exciting for us to actually officially talk to him on our podcast. So, hopefully hopefully he does well this year, and we're pulling for him.
And he was actually very excited to be on it too. Shane, when he does something, man, he does it. He doesn't just show up just to be there. He'll invest his time in it, and it's a great conversation. Out now, Tailgate Talks with Shane Beamer. Thanks, dude. Look forward to seeing you this weekend. Great stuff.
Yeah, man. Well, I'll text you and we'll link up. When are you getting in there? Friday?
Maybe I'm trying to get there Friday if I can. If not, it'll be early Saturday morning.
Okay. Well, let me know. We'll
I will.
be out and about.
Okay, sounds good. I'll see you.
All right, fellas.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Thanks,
y'all.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Steven.